What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Better Biomed. Today we're going to talk about salvaging, and it's a key piece of our career field. A lot of people don't want to talk about it because the fact of the matter is we all do it in some fashion or the other, and it can be a very crucial piece of this puzzle because logistically, or maybe your infrastructure isn't there that can help support you fast enough. Maybe your budget is constrained. I've seen all the above. Salvaging can be a crucial piece of this puzzle for your biomed career. Okay, guys, and I have some examples set up here. This is just a piece. See, I got a bunch of stuff over here behind me too. I have salvaged a lot over my career, and I have saved probably tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars for my hospitals, not including the downtime. I mean, geez, if there's a part that you know breaks, and you've got a piece that you're turning in that has similar components, maybe you want to salvage. You know, it's just one of those things, because when a hospital scraps something, it goes out on an open market, and it's not like they're profiting from it, and it's not like you'll ever see any of that money back again. The hospital might, on the back end, somehow see some of that money again, but the biomed shop and clinical engineering in general will never see that money again. So salvaging is in your best interest, and it is in your customer's best interest. So first off, what are we looking to salvage? We are going to salvage things that are clear to break in the future, items that are going to be excessively rare going forward, maybe because they stopped production on them. We're also going to salvage things that the user interfaces with, because remember, medical equipment usually breaks where the user interfaces with the equipment. Now that could be at the cord, it could be at buttons, it could be at plug-in jacks, you know, where accessories have to connect. But devices almost always break where the user interfaces with the medical equipment. So let's go ahead, let's take a look at some of my examples here, and let's check out salvaging medical equipment. All right, folks, I have a grand selection of stuff right here for you. Obviously, one of the first things that we're going to take a look at salvaging, ink pens. I never have enough ink pens. If you find an ink pen laying around, salvage that ink pen. We know we need them. PCBs. Now, either you can salvage the entire PCB or select components. Here we have pressure sensors, we have power supplies, we have displays. Now, what could possibly go wrong? Pressure sensors can go out of tolerance, power supplies just natively go bad over time, and with that, the backlighting for most LCD displays will just naturally go out. Either they have fluorescent back tubes or LED back tubes, and that backlighting is going to eventually fade out. It's just the nature of electronics. This board has many, many different items that might be worth salvaging, including some ports, because sometimes users will break ports off. But more likely, we have a power supply section up here. So that, I might change out this whole board in its entirety. But I'm guessing the display, because again, things break where users interface, and the display, things just happen. Things crack the displays. It just happens, guys. So the display might be a key feature. This, if you put it in a proper ESD safe packaging, it does not take very much real estate as long as you label what it went to. That's the other thing, guys. If you ever salvage something, say what it went to. What it went to. Come on. Yeah, there's too many times where biomeds will salvage something and they don't say what it went to, and you'll end up with a power brick or something like that. And it's extremely frustrating because you don't know, is that part good? Is it bad? Is it questionable? What's going on? And if it's bad, don't save it. You know, none of these parts here are bad that I'm gonna show you today. So this PCB here, it might have a couple conflicts, but I would label like bad on the power supply, or if it's got a questionable port, I'll circle the port. That way there I know the other three are good. You know, it's just one of those things. The display is probably the most valuable thing on this board. There you go, PCBs. Next thing we're going to talk about, let's go ahead and talk about power interfaces, power switches, the IEC ports, etc. These guys are very valuable, all right? So IEC ports, they get damaged, they get broken, they get just snapped over. This particular one, you can see it's shielded and it's got a metal plate behind it. There's many of these that are only plastic. So you could technically change out the plastic ones that have plastic ears that snap off and change it out for a shielded model like this. They're almost the exact same form factor, except one's shielded, one is not. So if you find something like this and you can snag it, I think this one here went to a light source. And that's because light sources, because of the power supply and stuff, they emit a lot of EMF, so they have to have extra shielding. This is a valuable piece right here. This one right here, I've seen it on surgical tables. I've seen this on laboratory equipment. This type of IEC port is very valuable. Salvage. Does not take up very much space. Power switches. Power switches go bad almost more than anything else on any device. And that is because that is where the user interfaces with the device, right? They're sitting there, they're beating on it. Maybe they hit it with another device instead of touching it with their finger. Power switches go bad. And if you have some select power switches, like this one right here, this is a thermally resetting or a circuit breaker style power switch. This one here can easily cost $200 or $300, if not more, and there's only a limited quantity of these around the United States. So the fact of the matter is, if you got one and the plastic retainers right here are in good condition, save it. These guys here, I know I've seen these on surgical tables. These, I believe, are on Pentero microscopes. I'm pretty sure that's what this guy went to. But these guys are on all sorts of things. They are valuable. If you find them, save them. Power switches have one of each style form factor. Here's a smaller one. This is the bigger one. There's the square ones. There's many styles of power switches, but believe it or not, many of them are standard off the counter parts. And if they're standard off the counter parts, that means that you can utilize one for another device as long as it has the same rating, which most of them do. They will have the voltage and the amperage rating on the switch. Like this one here is 8 amps at 125 volts, right? So, power interfaces and power switches, that is a key thing to consider when you are discarding equipment. See if you can salvage those. Power supplies. Guys, there are very few things that go bad faster than power supplies. It's because, one, it's where the user interfaces with medical equipment, right? And for two, it is a part that is generally deemed a consumable. Power supplies are a consumable. It does all the heavy lifting of any device in the world. And it has a delicate cord. As I've said in my other videos, things break where the soft part meets the hard part, right? There's yank damage, there's a lot of bending. A lot of people will wind the cords inappropriately around, and that causes little kinks, which stresses the internal conductors. Power supplies are one of those things. If you're throwing out equipment, save the power supply. You never know when you can use a power supply again. Either we can use them for diagnostics, or maybe you can customize it for something else. I say power supplies. There are so many power supplies out there. I get it. Many different styles of connectors, but at the same time, there's many different types of outputs. If you don't have a very nice benchtop switch mode power supply, and you have some of these, you can do what I've done here. You see how I've got this one clipped? You can use some gaiters on it. And this one here is 12 volt, 3 amps. 3 amps! How cool is that? 12 volts, 3 amps. I can use this for troubleshooting all sorts of stuff. And it's safe. While it's even plugged in, I can be touching these bare with my fingers, and it is safe. There's many protections in a modern day power supply, especially if you see them with a little indicator light. There are many protections inside this that prevent short circuiting and thermal overload. Save power supplies if you can. Another reason that you might want to save a variety of power supplies is because you get a variety of connectors. And instead of going out and buying a variety of connectors, which could be sort of expensive, you can do something like I've done here. I've got a variety of these connectors hanging over on my wall, and when I've got devices that I want to troubleshoot, I will cut the power cord down a certain length, and then I will put on gator clips. I'll solder them on just like this, and those gator clips will come over here and they go to my switch mode power supply. So I can plug in a device. I can actually mess around with the polarity and everything right here. You know, that's why it's only about a foot long. But I can connect a variety of different connectors because there's an outer diameter and inner diameter, and I can mess with the polarity. And if I keep the amps down really low on my switch mode power supply, I use this for troubleshooting on many things. And the only reason I can do it is because I've saved a variety of different power supplies to which I can salvage parts from, like the connectors. Connectors are so valuable, folks. They're very valuable. I don't know how many times that's saved a day. Saving power supplies so that I can maybe record another power supply or something like that. I have done it. You name it, I've done it. All right. So power supplies are an excellent thing to salvage, folks. Here is another version of a power supply, guys. This is a switch mode power supply, but this here is a medical grade. Medical grade power supplies are very expensive. I cannot tell you how many of these bad boys I have changed out in my career because they just go bad. But they're also kind of easy to fix. And if you are trying to practice your electronics, these are what I recommend people practice electronics on. I mean, the form factor makes it very easy to kind of understand the layout. If you want to practice soldering and desoldering from boards, switch mode power supplies, open frame or closed frame. This one here is a kind of a hybrid. Open frame would be, you know, just maybe metal on the two sides for the heatsink. Closed frame means it's entirely shielded. This one's kind of both. You can see it's shielding over the switching components. But switch mode power supplies are excellent. You can also use these for projects, and you can also use these for testing other devices. There's terminals at the output side. It is so easy to just go ahead and connect something over here. It is also a protected mode power supply, so if it's shorted and whatnot, it will adjust for that, and it's got some protections. These guys are absolutely valuable. Save them. And believe it or not, they're worth quite a bit of money. Medical grade power supplies, even on the open market, if you clean them up, these guys here could be hundreds of dollars. So think about that, guys. Power supplies, save them. I've got some more examples. If you have devices that are battery powered, consider saving components like this guy right here. This 9-volt connector. Yes, you can buy 9-volt connectors. You can buy them by the bag full, and I highly recommend you do. You can find them on Amazon. That's where I got this one. However, if you have a bunch of devices that have battery power, I suggest saving those battery containers, because sometimes you'll have batteries in a series parallel configuration in a cradle. Save that cradle. Do not throw it out. My gosh, those things. Because when you're dealing with alkaline batteries specifically, you have corrosion problems. So saving battery terminals, battery springs and stuff, those things can be worth quite a bit, especially in downtime. This guy here, 9-volt terminal. The ones that have a paper or plastic end right here always break. You can see that this is a molded plastic version, and it's much heavier duty than the ones that are flimsy and flexible. This one here is rigid. So you can buy these on Amazon. However, I also recommend salvaging some of these. Maybe you don't need a whole bag full of them. This right here is a power switch that was salvaged from something. Again, it's a through panel power switch. I have seen these guys right here separate and blow apart for no real reason other than wear and tear. It's plastic on plastic, guys. Salvage them if you can, all right? Let's talk about computers. Computers, obviously we have to be careful, right? With computers, we have to deal with HIPAA. So obviously you're going to be salvaging storage components like these or solid state storage. Yes, we do salvage these. I highly recommend, if you have more items like that in your fleet, maybe saving those hard drives if they're not bad. Now, if this thing crashed software-wise and, you know, that's why it's down and out, by all means, mark it as bad and then destroy these properly with proper documentation. However, if you have hard drives, because some of them are very selectively bit-coded or they have a very special size, I can't talk this morning. If you have a very special size or bit code that allows it to work with certain manufacturers, save those hard drives. If they are not bad, if they've never given you problems, run them through a diagnostic tool to make sure it's clear, where it surface scans the entire hard drive. And if it comes up clear, save it. Write down what that device goes to and save it in a static free bag. And hard drives can be very valuable because these are one thing that a lot of OEMs will not sell you, right? They'll come out, they'll put a new hard drive in your system. But let's say I have an OS already installed in this one, but that device is scrapped for whatever reason. I can salvage this hard drive and save it. And yes, the serial number and stuff for the other device might be encoded on this, but if I install this in my new device, I am not down, okay? Preventing yourself from being down is one thing. On top of that, you could possibly install software on top of this to correct the serial number. So, hard drives, if you see them in any medical device, obviously for HIPAA compliance, if it has a patient list and stuff, we have to salvage those. And thus, I have these ones here. Something to be cognizant of. With computers, there are many other things that you can salvage. One of the things, especially medical computers, guys, in medical imaging, they have some really good video cards. Video cards. This one here is a Quadro NVS, but this one is not that fantastic. However, if I'm building a computer or if I've got a fleet of these out there in the field, you might want to save one of those computers to salvage parts from, all right? Just in its entirety. The power supply, obviously, we already mentioned power supplies. Power supplies go bad. Video cards tend to go bad along with network cards, okay? If you have network cards in a medical device, save it. Save it. There's so many reasons for that because medical cards are just, the network cards are just one of those things that sometimes are encoded because they have a MAC address and stuff that might be software specific. Save network cards if you can, guys. Video cards, you could do a lot with some video cards. There's some really good video cards in medical equipment that you can salvage, and some of them are gaming video cards that you can find in many of these imaging computers, the mainframes for imaging. Video cards, salvage them if you can. Again, put them in a ESD safe bag, that way there it is protected. Memory modules, guys. Memory modules are one of those things. It's so easy to just pop those guys out and save them. Memory errors cause many, many problems, especially in aging medical systems. I would just change out, if I've got a computer that randomly blue screens, I would just change out all the memory for this other computer. Memory is an excellent thing to salvage if you can. It doesn't take up very much real estate. And the thing is, you might want to label what that memory went to, because again, sometimes certain medical software is for only certain things. Like these are error correction memory used in servers. These ones here can be pretty pricey sometimes. So special memory like this from medical systems, save them. You guys know what this is. This is a DVD writer. There are still many places, especially in imaging places, where they still export discs. They still burn discs with the patient's medical images. Sometimes you export software and patient data in mass. So CD writers, if you have one, save it. There is a band in here for driving the open and close of the door, and that band will often go bad. So there is a life expectancy on these, but luckily most of these have like a date code and stuff, and they're easy to see when they were made, easy to test out. And if anything, having one or two of these in my computer. Now I've got one of these for even my laptop. It's in an enclosure. You can buy enclosures for these on Amazon, and you just pop it in the enclosure, and now you have a external DVD writer. This can be super, super helpful, especially with modern day laptops that do not have optical drives in them. Salvage these if you can. When they go bad, and it really sucks. Some manufacturers only work with certain brands because of the firmware and stuff. So if you are turning in a medical device, I recommend pulling out the optical drive when you can. Write what it belonged to and then save it. These guys could save your bacon someday. Fans. Things that move break. Okay? That's how it is. Things that move break. And fans are no exception. Now this one here is what, a 4-pin fan. This belonged to a PC, but this is a excellent fan, Foxconn, top name brand. And this type of fan can be used for projects. It can be used for cooling, but the form factor, this is a 120 millimeter fan. This is found in many, many devices. Save a fan or two, especially if you have some of the smaller fans, because those ones, they do just sporadically break. I mean, just a little bit of dust can offset it and make extra wear and tear on the bearings. These bigger fans survive. They're a little bit more durable, but the smaller fans, if you find them, clean them up, save them, and you'll never know when you're gonna need it. Fans. Other things. Now this guy here, this is an NVMe adapter that was salvaged, and it is a USB 3 header for NVMe. So some of the smaller form factor computers and stuff have NVMe on them, but they don't have maybe enough USB 3 ports. You need that high-speed interface straight to the processor. This guy here was salvaged. How cool is that? I think you can also buy these on Amazon, but this guy here was salvaged, and you never know when you're going to use it, right? Because it's too easy to run out of USB, and furthermore, USB is separated into different channels, and they have different controllers. Now, it's possible if I'm running, let's say I'm running a video camera like I am here, I have to separate this out in different controllers, because things like video cameras, they use a lot of bandwidth. So this guy here could add a lot of capabilities to a small computer, or even a big computer, really. So noticing the value in something so small and salvaging it, this guy here could easily change my day, any day. Again, more IECs. These things right here, usually I'll clip the cord and save them. You never know when you can use, especially the ones that unscrew. These IECs are fantastic. I keep them in my big toolkit, so when I deploy to a site, you never know when you're going to need them. Save those. And one of the last things we're going to talk about, guys, is something that affects each and every one of us. Guys, USB chargers. Oh my gosh. You can see I have a whole variety of USB chargers here, right? The thing is you never know when you're going to need a USB charger, especially on medical equipment, guys. And better ones like this Apple right here that has fewer, it's got a high density in this little cube, but it's got less EMF. These guys here are particularly better in medical environments than some of these other ones. Let's say I have to plug in a little scanner, or maybe a little printer, or maybe somebody wants to charge their headphones or something, guys. You never know. USBs, if you're turning in a medical device and there's some sort of USB charger that's attached to it, try and save it. And if you can, save the cabling as well. Guys, I can't tell you how many times, like, faulty cables, especially like these USB-Cs, they tend to go bad kind of quickly. Just one of those things, guys. Save your cables, and keep them nice and organized. Don't just throw them in a drawer. Keep them looped up so it's nice and organized, like so. That way there, you don't have the problem of cables getting interwound and breaking. But USBs, some of them are garbage, which some of them are here, some of them are garbage, some of them are good. These Samsungs have a fast charging mode. You can see it. It's kind of printed on the sides. And the crazy thing is, they can ramp up the voltage on many devices and do fast charging. Not too many of these do that. Recognizing that and saying, yeah, I got multi-part chargers throughout my house. I don't necessarily need USB. You never know when you need to fast charge. So recognize that, guys. USB chargers are a fantastic thing to salvage, folks. And the last thing that we're going to talk about is going to be relays. Folks, relays go bad, right? And if you have some relays, and they don't have that much use on them, you can actually inspect, especially these clear shielded ones. Save some relays, all right? Especially if it's a pretty common form factor. Like this one here used to be pretty common. Save those relays, man. Just a couple, and then you never know when you're gonna need them. If you don't need them, it doesn't take up that much space. Just keep them nice and organized someplace. Anyway, folks, there you have it. Salvaging. Man, I'll tell you what, there are many things that you can salvage on the day-to-day. You never know when you're gonna need it. I'm not talking about being a hoarder, folks. I'm talking about salvaging the things that are gonna be critical, salvaging the things that you absolutely need to anyway, and salvaging things that you know are gonna break again. This could be the difference between being down, your customer being pissed off, and being up and running, all right? You never know. Many of these components cost hundreds of dollars, and we don't even know how many of them are in circulation anymore because some of them could be out of production. And thus, if you have more of those items in your fleet, maybe consider saving some of these components that are known failure parts, all right? There you have it, folks. Salvaging is part of our career in one way or the other, and that way there you can save money and save downtime. Thanks for watching, guys.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below with what you'd like to see in future videos.